Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care about time? I know I was here. Sorry, Teresa. You're probably gone by now. I'm sorry. I kind of changed plans because the first stream went on for 5 hours. So the first stream was kind of long. So I thought, oh, I know I'm going to need to nap. Hey, Pepper Saltina. She's my sister. Don't mess with Pepper Saltina now. The gang's all here. Well, we'll see if this works, huh? Hi, Paul J. Hi, Paul J. Doodly-doo. We have a lot. You know, the funny thing is that we actually kind of need 2 things a day. An afternoon show. I know. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know, we need an afternoon show because we've got so many things to read. We don't have enough time to read them all in the morning. And nobody has time to sit there all day. My goodness gracious. Well, I mean, I guess I do, but nobody with a real life, you know. Hi, Badger. Haggard. Hi, Haggard. How are you, darling? That's right. It's an afternoon show. It's not like the morning. Well, yes, it is. It's the afternoon show. It's not like the morning. Oh, yes, it is. Oh my God, Haggard, this space. I know. I need to sleep. I know I've got some weird issues going on with my body. So anyway, that's not neither here nor there. Who doesn't? Just finished teaching a class and I need some weed, Lolo, and lounge fam. Hell yeah. Well, that's what we are here for. We are here to facilitate your journey. To Weedom. We're going to Weedom. And when we go to Weedom, Don Bonvagino, she did not. Did she really? Nicole Wallace, Teresa, called Don Bongino Don Bonvagino. That's amazing. Hi, Neil. This is like the second game of baseball doubleheader. Exactly. But the players are refreshed. And not because they injected steroids. No, no, no. Just because. Just because they figured it out. So, yeah, we thank you GP who said, maybe I just want to maybe Lolo, you should do a show that's in the afternoon, your time, which would then provide other hemispheres with easier viewing opportunities. And I said, what a great idea. I mean, not only does it welcome those of our viewers from the other hemisphere in a more, compatible fashion, if you will, but it also allows us to get more material covered. And information is power. Now, do we retain all of this? No, not necessarily. But it certainly helps. So, if you're new, welcome. Welcome to it's not still baked. Hold on. Let me fix it. Oh, now I'm going to have to come up with a whole new frickin' hold on. I'm going to have to come up with a new one. Okay, that's fine. Still baked. There we go. Just so you know where you are. Oh, and we're not even at the House hearing from the State Department withdrawal from Afghanistan. Oh my God, we already did that. Don't make us do it again. Yeah, it's time for a beer. I have a feeling on all coasts, really. I mean, really, you know what? California, Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, whoever else, Baja, California. It's 2:35. Get on. Get on with your happy hour. Happy hours all around. It's happy hour here too. It's just California version or West Coast version. Well, good. This will be a great background to your beer. I ran to Family Dollar from some high dollar shopping. I told you this morning. There has been a I love Family Dollar. Dollar General. Dollar General actually was my store. It wasn't Family Dollar in Brooklyn. It was a Dollar General, and they were amazing. They stocked amazing things. They were amazing staff. It was just incredible. It was a neighborhood hangout. I got me a quart of beer. All right, well, sip responsibly. I'm not your mother. I can only handle one child at a time. And that is all I can handle. And even then, I'm not really the mother of the year. We used to make that joke. Is that a 40 ounce? I don't even know what a quart is. Is it a 40 ouncer? I've been there, done that. But, think about your liver. Your liver's like, hello. I don't want to be your mom. I don't have any desire to be anybody's mother. Twice baked Lolo. That's actually a really good one. Jane, that's really good. I hadn't thought about. I don't know if we came up with that one. Oh, it's a Dollar General Family Dollar combo. That's nice. No, man, that was like a really important store for me and my daughter, so I'm all in. 2 pints. 2 pints of beer. Yeah, pints 16 ounces was 32. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I don't know. Again, not your mom. Let's see. So what we are gonna be doing is reading some stuff. Baked Alaska with the campfire. Do you see Roger Stone? I'm gonna just make that a little tiny bit smaller. I don't know why it just doesn't. Hold on. There we go. And then I'm going to pull up some of the stories we wanted to. Baked Alaska. That is all I allow myself, and it's a Miller High Life. So what does that mean? You won't enjoy it? I don't remember. I drank a lot of beer. It was mostly like light beer. Yeah. No. Superb name. I know, Twice Baked. It might be. We might do Twice Baked. Maybe we'll do that for the show name. I don't know. This is a pilot, so you know what? Things can change. It's like you guys are like the focus group. You're like the focus group of oh, is it really? Oh, I didn't know that. Bake and bake again. Just stay baked. Staying baked with Lolo. Okay, good. We know we have to workshop the name a little bit. All right, that's fine. It's funny you say that, Jane, because I actually just put baked potatoes in the oven because tonight for dinner I'm making twice baked potatoes with a salad on the side for Bobo and I. And so I put the potatoes in to bake. So happy hour at the lounge. Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. I know, right, Jane? I think it all works out. Everything happens for a reason. I don't really know that, actually, by the way. I just don't know. All the American beers are, oh, I didn't know that. Gosh, no wonder it took so many to get me drunk. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I want to send Musk to the beautiful, befuddled, bland Mars. Yes, let's do it, Teresa. You and me both. I'll bring the wine. No, I don't know. I don't drink wine. Okay, well, who are these two gentlemen? Well, gentlemen's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, folks. That's right. Because these two are in trouble. Oh, you're in trouble, girl. Let me tell you about this. This is something that Gal shared with us this morning. It was a little development in the legal world, and we're going to spend our afternoon a little bit talking about them and sharing some of the links that we didn't share this morning. But first, let's see. This is the article. Oh, here. I think I want to. Oh God, I know. I need a mouse pad. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Come here, kitty. Come over to the laptop. There. And then here you come over here. La 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 la. $2.50 for a highball and $1.50 for a beer. Happy hour, happy hour, happy hour is here. Happy house here. I'll say it's here. It's here. All right. So these two Nimrods, assholes, criminals, got in trouble today with sex trafficking. And you'd think by looking at these pictures, well, they actually look like some sex traffickers to me. So I don't know. Well, and they are. So there you go. There you go. Look out for the hip. Here we go. Orrin Alexander and his brother Tal Alexander were arrested Wednesday morning in Miami, along with Orrin's twin brother Alon Alexander. Well, then really weren't all the Alexander brothers arrested? The three had faced mounting allegations of sexual assault. This is a December 11th piece in the New York Times. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan have charged two-star luxury real estate brokers and their brother with participating in a sex trafficking conspiracy. They're accused of drugging, sexually assaulting, and raping dozens of women, according to an indictment made public Wednesday. The three are Orrin Alexander, his older brother Tal Alexander, and who until this summer were real estate agents in New York and Miami, and Alon Alexander, Orrin's twin, who did not work in real estate. You DM'd me the New Yorker. Oh, thank you so much. I might have opened that. I'm not sure. Let me check because I do recall I've got a DM, but I'm starting to mix shit up. They were arrested at various residences in and near Miami Beach on Wednesday. The twins also face separate state felony charges of sexual battery connected to 3 separate assaults, according to arrest warrants obtained by the New York Times. If I didn't know, yeah. According to the federal indictment, Alon and Tal had conspired in the sex trafficking scheme since at least 2010. The brothers used their wealth and positions to create and take opportunities to rape and sexually assault women. The brothers conspired with other men to arrange events and domestic and international trips to use as bait to recruit, entice, and transport multiple women, whom they later raped, the indictment says. The federal charges are expected to be announced later on Wednesday, which I have a copy of the charges. In Manhattan by Damian Williams, or actually, excuse me, I have the U.S. Yeah, I have the Southern District announcement. The arrest warrants against Orrin and Aaron Alexander include details of 3 sexual assaults in 2016, 17, and 2021. All 3 incidents involve Orrin Alexander. Only the 2016 incident involves Alon Alexander. In that incident, the twins face a charge of sexual battery by multiple perpetrators. Several women have filed lawsuits against the men, accusing them of sexual assault. Kate Whiteman, a former marketing executive, brought the first lawsuit against Orrin and Alon Alexander. Excuse me. She said that she met Orrin and Alon at a Manhattan nightclub in 2012. As she was leaving, they forced her into an SUV and drove her to the Hamptons, where she said she was assaulted at Sir Ivan's Castle, according to her lawsuit. In 2016, according to the warrants, Alon Alexander invited a woman in New York to a barbecue in a Miami Beach condo. When she arrived, she was the only guest. Alon Alexander gave the woman a tour of the condo and led her to the bedroom. The woman later told Miami Beach Police Department. 2 women who appeared to be housekeepers left the room, leaving the woman with Alon Alexander, Orrin Alexander, and a cousin, Ohad Fisherman. Both brothers sexually assaulted her, the woman told police. The cousin helped hold her down. Mr. Fisherman, 39, who also faces a sexual battery charge, remains at large. In 2017, a woman said that Orrin Alexander messaged her on Instagram and asked her to hang out on the beach. There, the woman met him, Alon Alexander, and other family members. A few weeks later, the woman had dinner with Orrin Alexander and a friend of his, and then the 3 headed to a real estate event. Afterward, he took her to the same Miami Beach condo where the 2016 incident took place. Inside the apartment, he asked her if she wanted to try on virtual reality goggles. She agreed. Orrin Alexander then removed her dress, moved her into the bedroom, and pushed her onto the bed and assaulted her, she told the police. In the weeks later, she met with Orrin Alexander again, this time at a hot tub and near his building spa, where she asked for an apology. He tried to kiss her and masturbated over her, she told the police. The woman told friends about what happened, and Orrin Alexander got wind of it. In 2018, he sent her a text message saying, "Nothing happened. If you keep talking about it, I'm going to ruin you." The 2021 incident involved a woman who told the police that she had met Orrin Alexander at dinner with a friend. They went to a Miami beach house where Orrin Alexander poured her a drink and began to kiss her, then led her into a bedroom. There he took off her shoes, kissed her, ripped her dress. She tried to leave, but was unable to. Once she returned to his bedroom, he assaulted her, the warrant says. Tal and Orrin Alexander's reign as real estate princes came to an abrupt end in June when The Real Deal, a real estate trade publication, first reported that women had filed lawsuits that claimed they were sexually assaulted by the brothers. 2 women sued Orrin and Alon Alexander for assault. Third woman sued the twins along with Tal. In the wake of those suits, dozens of other women came forward with allegations of assault against the brothers, including in the Times. Those women included Tracy Tudor, top broker at Douglas Elliman in Beverly Hills, and one of the stars of the reality TV show Million Dollar Listing Los Angeles. 7 of the women who had spoke to the Times said they believed they had been drugged, describing a fog that erased or clouded their memory. Allegations of sexual assault had trailed the brothers since they were teenagers, but I guess no one ever decided to do anything about it. So, wow. Okay. Well, I'm delighted that they were caught. This is just, I won't read details again for obvious reasons, but this is the actual DOJ link. Let's just see if there's anything in this that is not, according to the indictment, superseding indictment. Oh. Wow, for 11 years they got away with stuff and people knew about it. And there's a number. If you have been victimized by these men, you need to call the FBI if you are able. You don't need to, but like you have an opportunity to call the FBI and report that. God, why do we just victimize each other? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? I don't really understand that. I'm sorry. I don't really get that. I know, we just did. You're right, Pepper. I don't know why I'm not really surprised, actually. Let me see what else. I've got a few things here. Let's see. We've got that. Did I pull up this article? Because I think I want to read this. A long read. Did I open this? Oh, I did. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me just pull up a couple more bookmarks here, and then I'm going to. Oh, actually, this was the press conference. Hold on. I don't know if we need to watch the press conference. Frankly, we've read the gory details. Let's. Hold on. Oh, I know what I wanted us to watch. It's 20 minutes, but I really wanted us to watch it. Hold on. So like a little mix. I mean, we've just elected. Yes, exactly. I mean, this is. But I wanted to shout out one of our dear friends, and that would be Miss Heidi Kuda. So hold on, because she was on the Tom Hartman show. OMG. Let's see what Heidi had to say a little bit. We'll see if we can listen. Hi, Carl. I'm just like losing my mind. I think I need more sleep during the day.
I'd like to walk through this with you,
This
if
is
you don't mind.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
You've really
Hold
done
on.
the research. Where does the 2016 election crime begin?
Well, I just would like to draw people's attention to a quote from President Carter, who said, "I think a full investigation would show that Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered on his behalf." That was from President Carter on June 28th of 2019.
He said that on this program, too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that's incredible. So for me, it begins in 2011 when Hillary Clinton demanded or asked for an international investigation into Putin's election in 2011, which she felt was fraudulent. And then in 2014, Putin sent spies to America to figure out where our vulnerabilities were, where our weaknesses, particularly in what they learned were purple states, our racial issues, our divisions, our misogyny, and thus began the full court press exploitation of our weaknesses and divisions by the troll operation, and I hate calling it that, as you know, the Internet Research Agency in St. Petersburg, run by Wagner Group's Prigozhin, who was alive at that time. In any case, so for me, it begins there. It begins with this online influence campaign blanketing all of social media, where people in St. Petersburg pretended to be Americans and divide us up. Meanwhile, you have people in America who are doing the same thing. So it begins in my book with me looking at the same organized crime ring that is about to take power in our country and do a decapitation strike was involved in promoting the same type of Russian narratives that were made to look like American patriots online, particularly at Twitter. And when I saw people like Trump and Musk and Dinesh D'Souza whinging about this guy, Douglas Mackey, who was charged by our Justice Department for interfering with our elections on Twitter by pretending people could vote from home and targeting Hillary supporters, that guy, Douglas Mackey, received a 7-month sentence, but you had this cabal that's about to take power in our country complaining about that and saying, oh, he was just a shit poster. That was not the case.
Yeah,
he
let's
was prosecuted.
forgive the interruption, but we're on live broadcast stations and we can't use language like that. So
I
apologies to anybody who may be offended, but keep going. I understand.
I apologize. I was using the word that is
Yeah,
a colloquial. Okay, I apologize for that, Tom. Thank you for letting me know. Bottom line is that they were this gang was trying to minimize the impacts of what was happening on social media. And as you know, this same crew always says, oh, you can't have any censorship. But we have learned more recently from our Justice Department that covert influence activities are not journalism. So you had this group, particularly on Twitter, pushing out the same narratives that were coming from the St. Petersburg troll operation.
Shit poster.
And I felt it was incredibly important to look at that. So I did a 5-part series which focused on the part 1 is about the digital guerrilla, the case I was just talking about with Douglas Mackey, who became this Russian propaganda super spreader. The second was the Translator Project, which showed exactly what was happening in St. Petersburg, and it relates to our muted response to the election today because, for example, the Women's March.
Yeah, I bet you did,
erupted in
David. I know it's
2016,
you,
this
David, my
global
love.
movement,
Welcome
of
back.
women who
I
came
hope
out
you're
and
well.
said something terrible just happened in America. But meanwhile, in St. Petersburg, teams of trolls were working around the clock for the next 18 months to destroy that movement by pretending to be Americans who were complaining about this, that, and the other thing and trying to divide people. And it was effective because it kneecapped the operation. And to bring this to the present, what we just learned from Romania is when hybrid warfare is being waged, you can actually nullify an election, which is what just happened in Romania. The next part was about how, I show Roger Stone's involvement in this. I show Paul Manafort's involvement. And the bottom line is that if we don't look at recent history, we're never going to be able to come out from under what just happened to us. Like I said at the beginning, a decapitation strike by American billionaires who are part of what I believe is an organized crime ring to stay out of prison. Other countries are doing a much better job and setting a much better example of what we could do to stop this.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the Romanian situation is really quite remarkable. I mean, it's, in fact, if you could describe that in a little more detail, I'd appreciate it for our listeners.
Sure. Well, the bottom line is they just looked around and saw what just happened in our election. How did we just get this right winger who was on TikTok elected? And they looked and saw, and again, some of the same characters we've seen before. I've been seeing Brad Parscale's name thrown around in this. They said our country was being attacked by hybrid warfare, which is, it should have never been called warfare, which is war. It is a way to, basically mess with people's minds and take them away from reality. And so they nullified the first round of their presidential elections. They said, we've been targeted by Russia. They targeted us through social media. So they've actually nullified the first round.
Right, which is incredible. I mean, it's that a country would just
Yeah, we got to watch
come right out and
Romania.
say, Russia just tried to interfere in our elections, and we're going to say the Russian candidate was the guy who had won in that first round. Sadly, we've done nothing like that here in the United States. If you can stick around for another 15 minutes or so,
skipping a bit.
I'd like to continue walking through your book. Is that all right with you?
That'd be great, Tom.
Okay,
Thank you.
So you've laid out, starting in St. Petersburg, going all the way back to shortly after 2011. Now we're to part two. What's the second part of your book?
Well, so just in opening with, I just want to go back to like the 2016 is the pivotal moment that most Americans who pay attention to information warfare will remember. Twitter was an absolute crime scene. You had people like Roger Stone, a close Trump ally, retweeting the same stuff that Douglas Mackey tweeted about election interference, using memes that encourage Hillary supporters to vote by text from home. That's not a thing. And thousands of people did that. And so for me, it's like, even if you had, one vote change, shouldn't that be something that is investigated? And shouldn't somebody like Roger Stone be held to account for that? And the overarching thing that continually comes through my work and comes out in this book is we have a terrible, terrible time in America at dealing with actual treason, at dealing with actual traitors. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that, because some of what we need to do now is actually deal with that pretty quickly. Because again, same people, same billionaires involved, paying people to interfere with our election. And, so I opened with the crime scene of Twitter and how difficult it was to actually piece together forensically. Bad word, I feel terrible.
So Heidi, keep going.
Again, I apologize for using a bad word. I feel terrible about
that's quite
that.
right.
I didn't know that was still a bad word.
Yeah.
So listen, one of the things I think it's really important to do is look at what was happening. Again, the attack. So about the second or third part of this book focuses on what we know from what was happening in Russia from the actual employees who were doing this work to attack America. And keep in mind, part of their job was to mess with Ukrainians' understanding of reality, as well as the Russian people's understanding of reality. But I focus on what was called the Translator Project, and we know that's what it was called because multiple Russians were indicted for this. And one of the women who worked on this project said it felt like half the country was trolls. And that really struck me, because I think that, again, because we do not address information warfare in any meaningful way in America, I think people will be surprised at how many people are more than willing to take money to do this feeding of unreality.
Sure.
But she said something, this particular person who worked on the operation says something that I would love your readers to understand. Public, it is harmful because we are being brainwashed. The trolls themselves are being brainwashed. We won't be able to understand what is really happening. We are put against one another and are sliding back into the old ways when we were searching for the enemy enemy among us, our friends, our colleagues, that feeling from the Soviet times. That really struck me because there's the escalation of paranoia that they are pushing into the news sphere and into people's, minds, while they too are also being affected by it. And there's a moment where one of the trolls was sitting there,
Targets matter,
taking in
I guess.
information on what his duties
Intention
were,
matters.
and he realized that he no longer cared about truth.
She's talking about a specific group of trolls.
So this assault on reality is the most important thing, I think, that America still has not addressed in any meaningful way. And I continue to show how, for example, here's a tweet from Donald Trump. It shows that he actually uses the exact same wording as the propagandists coming out of St. Petersburg. So once again, I go back to Jimmy Carter. I think a full investigation would show that in 2016, Trump was aided into office by the Russians. And I think it's safe to say when you have Paul Manafort as his, pro bono campaign manager, and Paul Manafort had just done the same job 10 years ago in Ukraine, getting paid tens of millions of dollars to reinvent a
That's literally coming through on this. Wait, hold on just a minute. What's coming through?
Viktor Yanukovych.
From that, throughout that entire period.
I don't know what's happening with that, but it's like a screen recording that picked up other stuff. So Tom Hartman, your staff. Yeah, it's because he was screen recording it when something else was playing in the background. I do it. I'm actually an amateur. Tom Hart. I don't really like Hartman. All right, well,
had just done the same job 10 years ago.
Dangerous.com is the website. Heidi, we'll be back on the other side. And that produced the middle class. Reagan came along and dropped that top tax rate down to 25% and then 27%.
Tom Hartman, get your shit together.
That's what killed the middle class. We need to bring back these high taxes.
Get your shit. I know exactly what happened.
Whichever, go back to being good citizens.
It's a bad intern, is what it is. I'm telling you right now,
so
I grew up listening to this. I cannot stand this guy.
And we've got about 4 minutes left here before we're going to hit a break.
I know, he's like the king
just
progressive.
You were talking about Paul Manafort. He was paid, I think it was $14 million by a Putin-affiliated oligarch to install a Putin-friendly president.
But I love Heidi more than I hate this guy.
He comes over to the United States and says, I'll work for you for free. And he runs Trump's campaign. Is feeding information to Russian intelligence from, the secret internal polling from the Republicans about which states and which counties and even maybe which individuals need to be targeted on Facebook. Continue the story.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's so great to speak with somebody who understands the gravity of the situation. Paul Manafort, it was a great cardinal. Paul Manafort got Yanukovych reinstalled, and what happened then? He refused to sign a letter saying that, he would be moving Ukraine toward the EU. And what happened then? Young people said, we need this. We need to be able to get visas. Then we had the revolution of dignity, where old and young joined in. And guess what happened to Viktor? He was forced to flee to Moscow with 40 of his other criminal friends. And I bring this up because right now in America, we're searching for what to do. What do we do? Well, I think it's going to take something like young and old getting together and, starting to protest against this, because this is not normal what's happened in America. And I was going to lead you to one part of my book where I talk about, I go through a timeline. We literally have Trump in Helsinki in 2018 saying, he doesn't see that Russia interfered. 3 days earlier, we have our, law enforcement agencies charging the Russians for interfering. A few days after that, we have Roger Stone saying he's in touch with the GRU. This was, he was in touch with an account, this Guccifer account, basically that we now know, is related to the we have all these signs. I'm just looking at this timeline going, we have all of this activity. It's all laid out. If I can figure it out, then our intelligence agencies know this is happening. So why the limited hangouts? We must get better at prosecuting traitors and foreign agents working with foreign enemies who are literally at this moment trying to overthrow the United States of America. And what I really wanted to make sure I shared with your viewers, I think right now we need a leader and not a bureaucrat. There are so many things that Joe Biden could do today to stop what I believe is this fascist train, and we need to do this.
Give us a quick list.
Well, I mean, one of them is let's billionaires working for foreign agents and foreign enemies need to be arrested. Okay, if you took money from the Saudis and the Russians and used a social media platform to actually push an election towards your candidate for fear of going to prison, which Elon Musk said in his own words, arrest him. Let's detain him. Let's do what we used to do with traitors. We used to strip them of citizenship.
Greg's Prevail
we used to incarcerate them.
Substack yesterday is really good about this, I
protected from
think.
these
Has some good
billionaires
ideas.
because they're literally trying to decapitate our democracy. There's, we have to stop with this muted response in America. We are in a terrible crisis. Old and young need to get together. MAGA needs to join us. Nobody wants what's coming. And right now we have the opportunity to protest because Joe Biden is still our president. So I think we need to actually deal with foreign enemy agents. We need to still remember that we are at this moment a country of laws, and Biden has to use his power.
Well, because the people that shouted down strong voices
who took what anybody else
got some ground
in any other business.
Yeah,
and I believe that even MAGA is starting to come out of its stupor when they see that all these things are about to be taken away from us. So at the very least, investigate some bomb threats. Let's take a look at that. We had bomb threats during our election. Let's take a look at that. I mean, there's
whoever is the Tom Hartman fucking intern that edits videos, let me tell you what happens. First of all, you fucked up the sound by recording and listening to something at the same time. So you need to understand how screen recordings work. That's number one. Number two, you don't put all this end crap this far in advance of the end of the video. You put it closer to the end. And the reason I know this is because when you go in to put end credits like they've done here, it defaults, well, then Tom, grow up. It defaults to like really far before the end of the video, and you have to manually adjust it to put the ads at the end of the... Oh my God. All right, whatevs. But anyway, thank you. Heidi, you're amazing, and we thank you very much for everything that you fucking do for the world. Yikes. I don't know what the bond is. Let me see if it was in the other article. But I will link both the article. I'll probably have to gift it, but I can link the article and the other information. Oh, and the New Yorker article that you provided, Teresa. Thank you so much. And then also, there's one more thing. Oh, the copy of the superseding indictment. So I will, or the indictments. I'll link copies to those as well. But I don't see what the bond is. Hold on. I'm just seeing if it was mentioned and I missed it somehow in the New York Times article. More allegations. Yeah, there's a lot of allegations in the... I'll gift the New York Times article for those who want to read it more. I'm not really into the whole, like, going detail by detail in sexual assaults. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. I don't think it's necessary to understand the media literacy of this moment. So I would rather not read all the allegations and stuff like that. But I am happy to link the article so that people can get an idea. But I don't see anything about what the bond is. Are they being held without bond? No, that's not possible, right? That's not possible. All right, let's see. Oh, that's from this morning. Okay. And then I have more. Oh, special announcement. Tonight, We have shoot. Tonight I'm doing a movie on Discord. Thank you for the suggestion. Wonderful. I think it was Carla who suggested it, if I'm not mistaken. Need that miracle to stop this Trump group. I'm not really sure what the miracle is, but I'm willing to consider any. I mean, I'm following the 14th Amendment conversations. I'm following the, organizing, like the Women's March and stuff like that. I wonder, if there's something we can do before then, and if there's something more along the legal lines. Oh, sorry. The Discord movie is The Man Who Knew Too Much. Hold on. I'm going to show you. Moo, 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 moo. Does it have a thing? Okay, it does. Is this the 2021? Well, 2021 conspiracy? I thought it was 2020. Hold on. Oh, here. The link. Oops. Oh, it doesn't have information. Oh, it does. Here we go. This is what we're gonna watch in Discord tonight. It's called The Man Who Knew Too Much: Spies, Fake News, and Disinformation. 2020, 1 hour and 11 minutes. The Ray poem. Oh, yeah, let's read the Ray poem. I'm gonna do it. A documentary film about Colin Wallace, a British intelligence officer who blew the whistle on fake news and was framed for a murder. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, so we're going to watch that. Jack Report should be out any day now. Are you kidding? Okay, I like that. I'm going with it. No, I didn't mean to even say, are you kidding? You're not kidding. I know you're right. Dang it. Okay, so that's one. And then, hold on, let me... I might already have it pulled up because I was still answering it. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Shoot, hold on. Okay, hold on. I didn't do it. Yeah, let me read a poem. Gal wrote a poem today. Let me read it to you. Mr. Blue Sky. Mr. Blue Sky. I just posted. I was promised there were no stupid people on Blue Sky. Oh, anyway, sorry. I keep not staying with anything. Well, here, I'll just go ahead and show you this. Hold on. So tonight, Discord movie. Tonight, the Discord movie is The Man Who Knew Too Much. On Blue Sky and my community page here on YouTube and on my X account, you can find links to the Discord in this ad looking thing that I have. So tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, everything in between and outside. This movie is available for free on Tubi. So if you have problems seeing the movie on your device when you watch in Discord, feel free to watch along on Tubi for free and use the Discord to just chat with everyone while you watch the movie. Oh my God. That's the way GP does it. Anyway, this one is available for free on Tubi, so feel free to watch along with us if you're having any trouble in the Discord viewing category. But let me find... Gal and I had a little interaction with the public today. Let me see. Where is it? Here we go. I'm not a very nice person. I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying that I'm a nice person. Oh, I blocked her. Oh, that's right. Dang it. If you block someone, you can't see their shit anymore. Let me see if I can unblock. I can't unblock her. Damn it. I can't unblock her. How do you not be able to unblock people? Like, you should be able to see the block post, right? I don't know. Well, anyway, where's your poem? I can't even see your poem now. Wait a minute. Let me go to your account. I'll see it here. Here we go. I got it. I don't care about her. I got yours. That's all I care about. All right, here we go. Farewell to Ray. A short poem. That one account got their Snickers in a bunch about your poem. They sure did. that little account. Okay. Farewell to Ray. A short poem. Love gal. Farewell to Ray, the timid hand, a servant swayed by shifting sand. When duty called, you looked away, and justice dimmed beneath your sway. Flint and stone their schemes laid bare, yet faced no reckoning, no despair. Bannon raged, Jones spread his lies, and still, well, it's kind of dramatic, and still you turned from rightful ties. Do you want me to be a little more serious? The Capitol burned with insurrection's flame, while you preserved the powerful's name. Now you resign to dodge the fight, a shadow fleeing the coming light. History watches. It won't forget the justice you promised and the debt unmet. Farewell, director. Your legacy stands, a hollow echo, justice unmanned. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And then, wait, where's the one where she yelled at you? Maybe I can get in there and like, wait, let me see. Go fuck yourself. I have to follow you for this post. Wait, I'm not going to be able to see the people who hate us. Oh man, dang it. Or the woman or person. I don't know if she's a woman. I always think that. I always think, oh, that's terrible. The person. Anyway. That is a very good poem. That is a very good poem. Wait, I've got to share that. I really like that. Here we go. Greg, he reposted it. Ray won't stay. He'll be walking out the door. Which oligarch will he work for? Good job, Greg. I love it. I love it. That's right. I love Chris. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. So funny. You guys are cracking me up. Cracking me up. I should have called the account a snagged hair. I didn't understand why she was so mad. Why are you so mad, girl? Why are you so mad? Oh yeah, we talked about Brian Mast. So I think we got through. Oh, this one I wanted to read. This we didn't get to this morning. We didn't get to this. This is from 2018. But this is just Russians, and that we are disinformation. Oh yeah, that's right. And that we should go to Twitter if we want to spread disinformation. And then she dropped the definition of what the FBI does. Because gal, you don't understand what the FBI does. What's the matter with you? That's still my face. Oh my God. I'm like, whatever. Carrie, if so, a pardon won't save Adam Schiff from becoming a political prisoner. I think Adam's going to lean into that. I think he's going to be like, yep, we got called twats. Yeah, daft twats. You know, probably the nicest thing I've been called by a asshole in a while. So I'm not really I'm not really too concerned about what that person thinks of us. Anyway, they need to behave themselves. You're right about dumbass Frito, $20 billion. I'm about real dumbass Frito. That's right. Oh my God. I'd Signal too. It seems all my friends need to be on Signal. Yeah. I just don't feel like anything's really that secure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think it's all that secure. It doesn't really seem to matter what it is. All right, let me get you. There's your face. I wanted to read this, which was a thing that is from 2018, but Florida Republicans play starring roles in Russian hacking indictment. This is again from 2018, so it's a little older information. But it actually is good. Oh, this was because Brian Mast. This is something we didn't get to this morning. Forgive me. This is this is from 2018. Mark Caputo. Oh my God. The new indictment of Russian military officials who hacked Democrats during the 2016 presidential elections has Florida written all over it. The two Florida Republicans and possibly a third, Rep. Brian Mast, you know, the one who's going to take over chairship of the Foreign Services Committee. That one. Let me just say that again. You mean the guy who's going to take over chairmanship of the Foreign Services Committee in the House? House Foreign Relations Committee, rather? Is that what it? Yep, that's it. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Well, the new indictment of Russian military, blah, blah, blah. Two Florida Republicans and possibly a third, Rep. Brian Mast, play starring roles in the indictment, although none is named. This is a piece from Politico from 2018, from, Caputo, so whatevs. Unlike President Donald Trump's former political advisor, Roger Stone, and political operative Aaron Nevins, Mast's identity is the least certain of any of the Florida Republicans hinted at in the indictment. The indictment released on Friday details how a dozen Russian military officers used an online persona called Guccifer 2.0 to disseminate information they stole from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and Democratic National Committee, which was led at the time by Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Almost as soon as the indictment was released Friday, Florida Republicans, Democrats, and even allies of Mast speculated that the congressman's campaign was likely implicated, in great part, because a former campaign consultant for Mast admitted last year to the Wall Street Journal and then to Politico that he used some of the hacked information in 2016. Mast, through a spokesman, denied a link. Regardless of Mast's potential involvement, the indictment shines a new light on the depths of Russians' election meddling, as well as the weaponization of information in U.S. political campaigns. Doesn't this just seem downright contrary? Or, sweet and contrite. So, so genteel. Even prostitutes are embarrassed by how dirty political consultants are. What? It's become a business that's 100% zero sum. It's all about the results, said Jacob Perry, a former consultant for Mast, who worked on local issues in Florida's 18th Congressional District, which sits on the northern edge of Southeast Florida. Well, he sounds like a lovely young man, and I'm sure not a problem at all when it comes to safety of your beverages, ladies. Act accordingly. Here we go. Okay. Oh my gosh. If this is true, I think Brian is absolutely a victim of trusting the wrong people, Perry said. If this happened, it happened without his knowledge or approval. He is one of the most ethical people you'll ever meet. He has zero tolerance for unethical behavior. The indictment is vague concerning the unnamed congressional campaign, saying only on or about August 15, 2016, the conspirators, posing as Guccifer 2.0, received a request for stolen documents from a candidate for U.S. Congress. The conspirators responded using the Guccifer 2.0 persona and sent the candidate stolen documents related to the candidate's opponent. At that point in the 2016 election cycle, first-time candidate Mast was embroiled in a six-way GOP primary, which he won. He won August 30th with 38% of the vote. He then defeated Democrat Randy Perkins in the general election. Perry points out the campaign didn't use some of the more vicious information it had against Perkins, and he said he was unaware of any hacking inquiries made by the campaign. He said he started after the primary and didn't have contact with Mass' former political consultant, Anthony Bustamante, who last year told reporters that he used hacked information from Guccifer 2.0. Tony Bustamante, Gal knows about him. Bustamante didn't mention Perkins or Oppo research when he spoke to reporters. Instead, he indicated he used data that helped him figure out strategies for sending mail and running TV spots. There was data for our campaign available, so I used it, Bustamante told Politico last year after the Wall Street Journal first reported his involvement. He told the Journal that I did adjust some voting targets based on some data I saw from the leaks. Then, as now, Mass spokesman Brad Stewart disputed Bustamante's account, and Stewart said Bustamante ceased being the general consultant for Mass on June 30th, but he acknowledged Bustamante was paid in September for robocalls. There's no actual information whatsoever linked to us, said Stewart, blaming Democrats for spreading the story for political advantage in the district, one of Florida's few congressional swing seats. It's speculation it was Anthony. I have no idea if that's the case. I don't know if that's how he talks, Stewart said. And B, if it was him, it was 100% not related to our campaign at all. Bustamante couldn't be reached Friday, but the consultant who succeeded Bustamante, Jose Malaya, and political blogger Javier Manjares, a current congressional candidate who recruited Mass to run and advise the campaign in 2016, both told Politico that Bustamante continued to provide input to the masked campaign manager Rocco Ladoni through August, despite denials from the campaign. I know for a fact that Ladoni was talking to Anthony, Manjara said. I saw texts. It was strictly campaign-related, grassroots, and strategy. I don't know why they would deny this. When called by Politico on Friday, Ladoni didn't dispute the story about Bustamante's help and said he would call back after checking with Mass' congressional office. Ladoni did not call back. In the fallout from the campaign, Bustamante felt Malaya ousted him from the masked campaign and last year worked against Malaya to scuttle his candidacy for a state house seat in Miami. The battles. Manjares, Malaya, and Bustamante in a previous interview all said no one at the time knew the information provided by Guccifer 2.0 was from a Russian military operation. How are we supposed to know? I can't even spell it. And they said that just as reporters under the First Amendment lawfully used the hack information, so could campaign consultants. Nevins, another Republican consultant and blogger, separately became involved with Guccifer 2.0 when he saw news reports of its information and an invitation for reporters to get the hacked information. Under his Hello Florida news account, he direct messaged Guccifer 2.0 on Twitter, and on August 22nd received approximately 2.5 gigabytes of data stolen from the DCCC, according to the indictment. The stolen data included donor records and personal identifying information for more than 2,000 Democratic donors. Basically, if this was a war, this is the map to where all the troops are deployed, Nevins wrote Guccifer 2.0. This is probably worth millions of dollars. Nevins told Politico on Friday that the sheer size of the information was daunting. I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of information, and I tried to farm it out to reporters. So District 18, the masked race, I sent information to TC Palm. TC Palm is a local newspaper in the district that covers Florida's Treasure Coast. He also reached out to Politico, which wrote a story concerning the internal vetting of Democratic candidates by the DCCC. Nevins said he freely spoke last year to federal investigators about his contacts with Guccifer 2.0 and said he is neither a suspect nor a target in the investigation. Nevins said he did not communicate with Bustamante or anyone on the masked campaign, and though Nevins is from the Fort Lauderdale area, home of longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone, he said the two men didn't coordinate in talking to Guccifer. Stone, who is under investigation in the wide-ranging probe, has denied wrongdoing, but hinted he may be indicted for what he characterizes as overblown charges from an out-of-control prosecutor. In addition to communicating with Guccifer 2.0, Stone was also in communication with WikiLeaks, which is identified in the indictment as Organization 1. I'll link to the indictment on this, too, just for kind of completeness. According to the indictment, the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 were in repeated contact with him about the hacked data and asked him on September 9th, 2016, "What do you think of the info on the turnout model for the Democrats' entire presidential campaign?" "Pretty standard," Stone replied. Stone said Friday the indictment shows no law-breaking by him. "As I testified before the House Intelligence Committee under oath, my 24-word exchange with someone on Twitter claiming to be Guccifer 2.0 is benign, based on its content, context, and timing," Stone said in a written statement. "This exchange is entirely public and provides no evidence of collaboration or collusion with Guccifer 2.0 or anyone else in the alleged hacking of the DNC emails, as well as taking place many weeks after the events described in today's indictment." Well, that's all fine, Roger, but what's on your phone? Oh, all right. Well, that's it for that. Wow. That's a good one. That's a good one for the Wayback Machine. I like that one. Boop. Back to the fire. Wah, 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 wah. So yeah, we're gonna have movie night tonight, and then tomorrow we're gonna do some more wake and bake, and I think we have some congressional stuff tomorrow, which actually will also help if I think about doing afternoon shows, because maybe in the afternoons I can get in a little more reading now that we're back in congressional season. So I could see doing this just to catch up with what the morning stuff. Yeah, call me crazy, but I don't believe Roger Stone. I just don't. I don't. I don't at all. Ooh, I can smell the potatoes baking. It smells so good. Why does food smell so good? I think I'm also hungry. I forgot to eat. I took a nap though, but I forgot to eat. All right, let me see what else I got, because I've got some. Oh, there's that. Oh, there's no. Oh, there's no. Na, 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 na. Oh, I really wanted to read this. How long is it? Kind of long. I don't care though. I really want to read it because I don't understand this that much, and I would like to understand it a little more. Okay. And this is an article from 7 years ago. I know we're a little bit in the Wayback Machine, but that's fine. That's a good thing. Sometimes it's good to look back in order to learn about the future. Oops, that's not the right place. Go on and get in your place. Get in your place. There we go. This is another gal find, I think. I think this is, you found this, right, gal? I didn't. Yeah, you shared this. Forgive me. I'm going to leave Roger Stone up there because he's such a clever little guy. David, I'm your brother, Sam. You guys, I always know you guys connect. Yeah. I haven't seen you in such a long time. I hope you're feeling better, my love. I'm never sure if Spotman is you or your brother. Not your other brother, Sam, but your brother. Which I don't know what his name is, because I think he only calls himself Spotman. But that doesn't matter. I don't need to know what his name is. But I just kind of wait for you to tell me which one of it you are. So you did. It's David. Hi, David. Okay, here we go. This is Accelerationism, How a Fringe Philosophy Predicted the Future We Live in. This is from The Guardian. Oops, I'm on the wrong place. From The Guardian. And it's from 2017. So settle in. Settle in, kids. The world is changing at a dizzying speed. Well, it has, really. But for some thinkers, not fast enough. Is accelerationism a dangerous idea, or does it speak to our troubled times? By Andy Beckett. Half a century ago, in the great hippie year of 1967, an acclaimed young American science fiction writer, Roger Zelazny, published his third novel. In many ways, Lord of Light was of its time, shaggy with imported Hindu mythology and cosmic dialogue. Yet there were also glints of something more forward-looking and political. One plot strand concerned a group of revolutionaries who wanted to take their society to a higher level by suddenly transforming its attitude to technology. Zelazny called them the Accelerationists. He and the book are largely forgotten now, but as the more enduring sci-fi novelist J.G. Ballard said in 1971, what the writers of modern science fiction invent today, you and I will do tomorrow. Over the past 5 decades, and especially over the past few years, much of the world has got faster. Working patterns, political cycles, everyday technologies, communication habits and devices, the redevelopment of cities, the acquisition and disposal of possessions, all of these have accelerated. Meanwhile, over the same half century, almost entirely unnoticed by the media or mainstream academia, accelerationism has gradually solidified from a fictional device into an actual intellectual movement, a new way of thinking about the contemporary world and its potential. Accelerationists argue that technology, particularly computer technology, and capitalism, particularly the most aggressive global variety, should be massively sped up and intensified, either because this is the best way forward for humanity or because there is no alternative. Accelerationists favor automation. They favor the further merging of the digital and the human. They often favor the deregulation of businesses and drastically scaled back government. They believe that people should stop deluding themselves that economic and technological progress can be controlled. They often believe that social and political upheaval has value in itself. Accelerationism, therefore, goes against conservatism, conservatism, traditional socialism, social democracy, environmentalism, protectionism, populism, nationalism, localism, and all the other ideologies that have sought to moderate or reverse the already hugely disruptive, seemingly runaway pace of change in the modern world. Acceleration is a political heresy, write Robin McKay and Armin Avanasian in their introduction to Accelerate, the Accelerationist Reader, a sometimes baffling, sometimes exhilarating book published in 2014, which remains the only proper guide to the movement in existence. Kind of feels like Let Us Do Anything We Want. I'm sure there's more to it, but like other heresies, accelerationism has had generations of adherents, declared or otherwise, passing its ideas on to each other, refining some and renouncing others, communicating with each other in a private language, coalescing around dominant figures, competing to make the faith's next breakthrough, splitting into factions, burning out. There are or have been accelerationists from the United States, Canada, Britain, Germany, Italy, and France. The movement has produced books, essays, journals, manifestos, blogs, social media battles, and cryptic, almost unclassifiable communiques combining dystopian fiction with a dizzying range of political, cultural, and economic theory. Occasionally, accelerationists have held teaching posts at universities. They have held sporadic public gatherings in order to think out loud, argue, and acquire converts. A few recorded fragments of these can be found on YouTube. Dim footage of intense young people talking mesmerically about the future, often with electronic music and abstract visuals churning in the background to sometimes baffled audience in badly lit lecture rooms. At any one time, there have probably been only a few dozen accelerationists in the world. The label has only been in regular use since 2010, when it was borrowed from Zelazny's novel by Benjamin Noyes, a strong critic of the movement. Yet for decades longer than more orthodox contemporary thinkers, accelerationists have been focused on many of the central questions of the late 20th and early 21st centuries: the rise of China, the rise of artificial intelligence, what it means to be human in an era of addictive, intrusive electronic devices, the seemingly uncontrollable flows of global markets, the power of capitalism as a network of desires, the increasingly blurred boundary between the imaginary and the factual, the resetting of our minds and bodies by ever faster music and films, and the complicity, revulsion, and excitement so many of us feel about the speed of modern life. We all live in an operating system set up by the accelerating triad of war, capitalism, and emergent AI, says Steve Goodman, a British accelerationist who has even smuggled its self-consciously dramatic ideas into dance music via an acclaimed record label, Hyperdub. Like it or not, argues Stephen Shaviro, an American observer of accelerationism, in his 2015 book on the movement, No Speed Limit, we are all accelerationists now. Celebrating speed and technology has its risks. A century ago, the writers and artists of the Italian futurist movement fell in love with the machines of the industrial era and their apparent ability to invigorate society. Many futurists followed this fascination into warmongering and fascism. While some futurist works are still admired, the movement's reputation has never recovered. One of the central figures of accelerationism is the British philosopher Nick Land, who taught at Warwick University in the 1990s and then abruptly left academia. Philosophers are vivisectors, he wrote in 1992. They have the precise and reptilian intelligence shared by all who experiment with living things. Ian Hamilton Grant, who was one of Land's students, remembers, there was always a tendency in all of us to bait the liberal, and Nick was the best at it. Since Warwick, Land has published prolifically on the internet, not always under his own name, about the supposed obsolescence of Western democracy. He has also written approvingly about human biodiversity and capitalistic human sorting, the pseudoscientific idea currently popular on the far right that different races, quote, naturally fare differently in the modern world, and about the supposedly inevitable, quote, disintegration of the human species when artificial intelligence improves sufficiently. Elmo is a futurist. Yes. Thank you, Gal. This is why we're reading this, because they're now in the White House. No joke. Other accelerationists now distance themselves from Land. Grant, who teaches philosophy at the University of the West of England, says of him, I try not to read his stuff. Folk in the accelerationist movement are embarrassed. They think he's sounding like a thug. Anyone who's in acceleration, who's reflective, does think, how far is too far? But then again, even asking that question is the opposite of accelerationism. Accelerationism is not about restraint. And furthermore, the Elmo piece is really about the fact that there is the rule of the wise, right? That we're just not smart enough to rule ourselves, which is why guys like him have to do it. It's literally what I take away from that. So, like the new sphere, where it's like, and that comes from Dugan. I mean, there's Gal and Jim have laid this out so well in terms of how Elmo is being influenced and what he's influenced by. And he doesn't fit into one category. It's just like these are the concepts though that are influencing who is going to run our country. Let's put it that way. Okay. Other acceleration. Okay. Grant, who teaches philosophy at the University of West of England, says of him, quote, I try not to read his stuff. Folk in the accelerationist movement are embarrassed. They think he's sounding like a thug. Anyone who's an accelerationist, who's reflective, does think, how far is too far? But then, I want to read it again. But then again, even asking that question is the opposite of accelerationism. Accelerationism is not about restraint. I think that's important. Even its critic Benjamin Noyes concedes that the movement has an allure. Accelerate is a sexy word, he says, not a common thing in philosophy. The determinedly transgressive artists Jake and Dinos Chapman are associates of the movement and long-standing Land collaborators. One of their frenzied, grotesque paintings is on the cover of his collected writings, Fanged Noumena, published in 2011, which contains some of accelerationism's most darkly fascinating passages. Earlier this year, secondhand copies of the paperback, which is now being reprinted, were sold on Amazon for £180. In our politically febrile times, the impatient, intemperate, possibly revolutionary ideas of accelerationism feel relevant, or at least intriguing, as never before. Noyes says, accelerationists always seem to have an answer. If capitalism is going fast, they say it needs to go faster. If capitalism hits a bump in the road and slows down, as it has since the 2008 financial crisis, they say it needs to be kickstarted. The disruptive U.S. election campaign and manic presidency of Donald Trump and his ultra-capitalist anti-government policies have been seen by an increasing number of observers, some alarmed, some delighted, as the first mainstream manifestation of an accelerationist politics. In recent years, Noyes has noticed accelerationist ideas resonating and being circulated everywhere, from pro-technology parts of the British left to wealthy libertarian and far-right circles in America. On alt-right blogs, Lands in particular has become a name to conjure with. Commenters have excitedly noted the connections between some of his ideas and the thinking of both the libertarian Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel and Trump's, let's call him iconoclastic, sounds so nice, strategist Steve Bannon. In Silicon Valley, says Fred Turner, leading historian of America's digital industries, accelerationism is part of a whole movement which is saying we don't need conventional politics anymore. So we can get rid of left and right if we just get technology right. Accelerationism also fits with how electronic devices are marketed. The promise that, finally, they will help us leave the material world, all the mess of the physical, far behind. To Turner, the appeal of accelerationism is as much ancient as modern. They are speaking in a millenarian idiom, promising that a vague universal change is close at hand. Noyes wants that the accelerationists are trying to claim the future. Is he in Washington? I don't know. Who? Wait, Ford? Doug Ford? Yeah, I thought it was in Florida, you guys. You were talking about, I think he was down at Mar-a-Lago, you said. Jerk. No. Okay. In some ways, Karl Marx was the first accelerationist. His Communist Manifesto of 1848 was as much awestruck as appalled by capitalism, with its constant revolutionizing of production and uninterrupted disturbance of all social conditions. He saw an ever more frantic capitalism as the essential prelude to the moment when the ordinary citizen is at last compelled to face his real conditions of life and start a revolution. Yet it was in France in the late 1960s that accelerationist ideas were first developed in a sustained way. Shaken by the failure of the left-wing revolt of 1968 and by the seemingly unending post-war economic boom in the West, some French Marxists decided that a new response to capitalism was needed. In 1972, the philosopher Gilles Deleuze and the psychoanalyst Félix Guattari, I don't know how to say that, published Anti-Oedipus. It was a restless, sprawling, appealingly ambiguous book which suggested that, rather than simply oppose capitalism, the left should acknowledge its ability to liberate as well as oppress people and should seek to strengthen these anarchic tendencies to go still further in the movement of the market to accelerate the process. I'm not sure I understand that. 2 years later, another disillusioned French Marxist, Jean-François Lyotard, extended the argument even more provocatively. His 1974 book, Libidinal Economy, declared, probably didn't say that right, declared that even the oppressive aspects of capitalism were enjoyed by those whose lives the system reordered and accelerated. And besides, there was no alternative. The system of capital is, when all's said and done, natural. In France, both books were controversial. Lyotard eventually disowned Libidinal Economy as his evil book and moved on to other subjects. Deleuze and Guattari warned in their next book, A Thousand Plateaus, which was published in 1980, as relatively benign post-war capitalism was being swept away by the wilder, harsher version of the Thatcher-Reagan era, that too much capitalist acceleration could suck society into black holes of fascism and nihilism. Yet in Britain, Anti-Oedipus and Libidinal Economy acquired a different status. Like much of post-war French philosophy, for decades they were ignored by the academic mainstream as too foreign in all senses, and were not even translated into English until 1983 and 1993 respectively. But for a tiny number of British philosophers, the two books were a revelation. Ian Hamilton Grant first came across Libidinal Economy as a master's student at Warwick in the early 90s. I couldn't believe it. For a book by a Marxist to say there's no way out of this, meaning capitalism, and that we are all tiny pieces of engineered desire that slot into a huge system, that's a first as far as I know. Grant got hooked. Instead of writing his dissertation, he spent an obsessive 6 months producing the first English translation. He says Trump's tariffs are responses to Ontario President. What? Ontario? What'd you guys do? Such exploratory philosophy projects were tolerated at Warwick in a way they were not at other British universities. Warwick had been founded in the 1960s as a university that would experiment and engage with the contemporary world. By the 1990s, its slightly isolated out-of-town campus of breeze block towers and ziggurats looked worn rather than futuristic, but its original ethos lived on in some departments, such as philosophy, where studying avant-garde French writers was the norm. At the center of this activity was a new young lecturer in the department, Nick Land. Oh, hi, Iguana. No problem. We're just doing some afternoon reading. Land was slight, a fragile-looking man with an iron gaze, soft but compelling voice, and an air of startling intellectual confidence. Lots of people are clever, says Grant, but I've never witnessed anyone who could so forensically destroy a thesis. Robin McKay, who also became one of Land's students, remembers, Nick was always ready to say, don't bother reading that, but he had read it all. By the early 90s, Land had distilled his reading, which included Deleuze and Guattari and Lyotard, into a set of ideas and a writing style that, to his students at least, were visionary and thrillingly dangerous. Land wrote in 1992 that capitalism had never been properly unleashed, but instead had always been held back by politics, the last great sentimental indulgence of mankind. He dismissed Europe as a sclerotic, increasingly marginal place, the racial trash can of Asia, and he saw civilization everywhere by accelerating toward an apocalypse. Disorder must increase. What a dick! This guy's a fucking bigoted dick. Any human organization is a mere detour in the inexorable death flow. Well, what a fucking joy he is. Who's your mother? Who's your mother? Land gave strange theatrical lectures. You know why? Because he was just a fucking dude who loved the sound of his own fucking voice. Okay? And that's it. I can't stand dudes like that. And there's too many of them. Clamoring over chairs as he spoke or sitting hunched over, rocking back and forth, he also spiced his pronouncements with black humor. He would tell lecture audiences, quote, I work in the field of the collapse of Western civilization studies. A quarter of a century on, some former Warwick philosophy students still talk about him with awe. Robin McKay says, I think he's one of the most important philosophers of the last 50 years. Well, so does he. Oh, I can't stand it. I'm sorry. If you're smart and like an asshole about it, then you are not sexy. If you are smart and you are not an asshole about it, then you are. It's pretty simple. And if you're stupid, you're not sexy. I'm sorry. You're not. But for a would-be guide to the future, Land was in some ways quite old-fashioned. Until the late 90s, he used an ancient green-screen Amstrad computer, and his initial Warwick writings contained far more references to 18th and 19th century philosophers. Nietzsche was a fixation, then to contemporary thinkers or culture. The Warwick version of accelerationism did not crystallize fully until other radicals arrived in the philosophy department in the mid-90s. Sorry. Sadie Plant was one of them. A former Birmingham University lecturer in cultural studies, the study of modern popular culture. Mark Fisher, a former student of hers at Birmingham, was another incomer. He was jumpy and intense, while she was warm and approachable. For a time in the early 90s, she and Land were partners. Like Land, Plant, and Fisher had both read the French accelerationists and were increasingly hostile to the hold they felt traditional left-wing and liberal ideas had on British humanities departments and on the world beyond. Unlike Land, Plant and Fisher were technophiles. She had an early Apple computer, and he was an early mobile phone user. Computers pursue accelerating exponential paths, proliferating, miniaturizing, stringing themselves together, wrote Plant in Zeros and Ones, a caffeinated 1997 book about the development of computing. I think I've heard of that. Plant and Fisher were also committed fans of the 90s, increasingly kinetic dance music and action films, which they saw as a popular art forms that embodied the possibilities of the new digital era. Well, I loved Chitty Chitty Bang Bang when I was a kid, but I didn't go out and build a fucking flying car. With an internet becoming part of everyday life for the first time and capitalism seemingly triumphant after the collapse of communism in 1989, a belief that the future would almost be entirely shaped by computers and globalization, the accelerated movement of the market that Deleuze and Guattari had called for 2 decades earlier spread across British and American academia and politics during the 90s. The Warwick accelerationists were in the vanguard. Toot sweets, toot sweets. What do you see, you people gazing at me? You see a doll on a music box that's wound by a key. I love that song. How can you tell I'm under a spell? I'm waiting for love's first kiss. Sorry, sometimes I'd rather sing. Okay, here we go. Asshole guys don't entice me. This is not enticing. You got to keep my attention. Where's the pictures? No, I'm just kidding. In Britain, this optimism. Oh, wait, here we go. Sorry. Yet there were two different visions of the future. In the U.S., confident, rainbow colored magazines such as Wired promoted what became known as the Californian ideology, the optimistic claim that human potential would be unlocked everywhere by digital technology. In Britain, this optimism influenced New Labour. At Warwick, however, the prophecies were darker. One of our motives, says Plant, was precisely to undermine the cheery utopianism of the 90s, much of which seemed very conservative, an old-fashioned male desire for salvation through gadgets in her view. We wanted a more open, convoluted, complicated world, not a shiny new order. Well, where's the humanity part? Where's the part where everybody's lives get better? I don't know. It seems kind of selfish. Anyway, the Warwick accelerationists were also influenced by their environment. Britain in the 90s felt cramped, gray, dilapidated, says McKay. We saw capitalism and technology as these intense forces that were trying to take over a decrepit body. To observe the process and help hasten it, in 1995, Plant, Fisher, Land, McKay, and 24 other Warwick students and academics created a radical new institution, the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit. It would become one of the most mythologized. I want to say this right. Mythologized groups in recent British intellectual history. Thanks for letting me work that out. The CCRU existed as a fully functional entity for less than 5 years. For some of that time, it was based in a single office in the tight corridors of the Warwick Philosophy Department, of which it was an unofficial part. Later, the unit's headquarters was a rented room in the Georgian town center of nearby Leamington Spa above a branch of the Body Shop. This last time we invaded Canada, it didn't turn out too well. That's probably true, right? Yeah, I would imagine. You're going to turn off hydro to the United States? That's okay. We got water, Neil, in California. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. For decades, tantalizing references to the CCRU have flitted across political and cultural websites, music and art journals, and the more cerebral parts of the style press. There are groups of students in their 20s who reenact our practices, says Robin McKay. I've heard that name before. Since 2007, he has run a respected philosophy publishing house, Urbanomic, with limited editions of old CCRU publications and new collections of CCRU writings. Leamington Spa is the Palo Alto of the UK. Oh, interesting. Good to know, Kathy. Thank you. The CCRU was image conscious from the start. Its name was deliberately hard-edged, with a hint of the military or the robotic, especially once its members began writing and referring to themselves collectively, without a definitive article, as crew. In 1999, it summarized its history to the sympathetic music journalist Simon Reynolds in the terse, disembodied style that was a trademark. Crew triggers itself from October 1995, when it uses Sadie Plant as a screen and Warwick University as a temporary habitat. Crew feeds on graduate students, plus malfunctioning academic Nick Land, plus independent researchers. That's right, we don't need participles. Former crew members still use its language and are fiercely attached to the idea that it became a kind of group mind. Land told me in an email, Crew was an entity, irreducible to the agendas or biographies of its component sub-agencies. Utter submission to the entity was key. So listen, if you're some big, bad, smart person, why in the world would you want to submit fully to something? That doesn't make any sense to me. Make it make sense. I should have got some water. Oh, well, that's fine. These days, Ian Hamilton Grant, is an affable middle-aged professor who wears a waistcoat with a pen in the top pocket. Yet when I asked him to describe the crew, he said with sudden intensity, "We made up an arrow. There was almost no disharmony. There was no leisure. We tried not to be apart from each other. No one dared let the side down. When everyone is keeping up with everyone else, the collective element increased its speed." What? This is a Wendy's drive-thru, sir. Do you want a Frosty? The crew gang formed reading groups and set up conferences and journals. They squeezed into the narrow crew rooms in the philosophy department and gave each other impromptu seminars. Yeah, I'm sure they did. Is that what they call it these days? Wait. Sorry. McKay remembers Steve Goodman, a crew member who was particularly interested in military technology and how it was transforming civilian life. drawing yin and yang on the blackboard and then talking about helicopters. It wasn't academic point scoring. That was exactly what we had all gotten heartily sick of before the crew. Instead, it was a buildup of shared references. Grant explained something would be introduced into the group. Neuromancer, William Gibson's 1984 novel about the internet and artificial intelligence, got into the philosophy department and it went viral. You'd find worn out paperbacks all over the common room. Land and Plant's offices in the department also became crew hubs. They were generous with their time, said Grant, and had good drugs, skunk, cannabis, the marijuana. Although it could be grim going in there once he started living in his office. There would be a tower of pot noodles and underwear drying on the radiator, which he had washed in the staff loos. Oh, that's charming. The Warwick campus stayed open late. When the philosophy department shut for the night, the crew decamped to the student union bar across the road, where Land would pay for all the drinks, and then to each other's houses, where the group mind would continue its labors. Well, this is a cult. Is this just a cult? It's just a cult. Canadian, of course they are, Paul. Oh my God, yeah. They totally. Okay, bye. Have fun with your soccer. Thank you, gal, for everything. See you later. The crew's aim was to meld their preoccupations. I can't read all the stuff that he says. Into a groundbreaking, infinitely flexible intellectual alloy, like the shape-shifting cyborg in the 1991 film Terminator 2, a favorite reference point, which would somehow sum up both the present and the future. The main result of the crew's frantic, promiscuous research was a conveyor belt of cryptic articles crammed with invented terms, sometimes speculative to the point of being fiction. A typical piece from 1996, Swarm Machines, included a section on jungle, then the most intense strain of electronic dance music. Jungle functions as a particle accelerator, seismic bass frequencies engineering a cellular drone which immerses the body, rewinds and reloads conventional time into silicon blips of speed. It's not just music. Jungle is the abstract diagram of planetary inhuman becoming. What? Oh my God, get over yourselves. And that feels like there's something weird going on with it. Anyway. The Warwick Accelerationists saw themselves as participants, not traditional academic observers. They bought Jungle records, went to clubs, and organized DJs to play at electric public conferences, which they held at the university to publicize accelerationist ideas and attract like minds. Grant remembers these gatherings, staged in 94, 95, and 96 under the name Virtual Futures, as attracting every kind of nerd under the sun, science fiction fans, natural scientists, political scientists, philosophers from other universities, but also cultural trend spotters. Someone from the fashion magazine The Face came to the first one. Like Crew Pros, the conferences could be challenging for non-initiates. Virtual Futures 96 was advertised as an anti-disciplinary event and a conference in the post-humanities. One session involved Nick Land lying on the ground, croaking into a mic. I mean, this is stuff I would like to do too, but I don't pretend to be a philosopher. Recalls Robin McKay. While McKay played jungle records in the background, some people were really appalled by it. They wanted a standard talk. One person in the audience stood up and said, "Some of us are still Marxists, you know," and walked out. Even inside the permissive Warwick philosophy department, the crew's ever more blatant disdain for standard academic practice became an issue. Ray Brassier watched it happen, now an internationally known philosopher at the American University in Beirut between 1995 and 2001. He was a part-time mature student at Warwick. I was interested in the crew, but skeptical, Brazier says. I was a bit older than most of them. The crew felt they were plunging into something bigger than academia, and they did put their finger on a lot of things that had started to happen in the world. But their work was also frustrating. They would cheerfully acknowledge the thinness of their research. It's not about knowledge. Yet, if thinking is just connecting things, of course it's exciting, like taking amphetamines. But thinking is also about disconnecting things. Brazier says that the crew became a very divisive presence in the philosophy department. Most of the department really hated and despised Nick, and that hatred extended to his students. There were increasingly blunt bureaucratic disputes about the crew's research and how, if at all, it should be externally regulated and assessed. In 1997, Plant resigned from the university. The charged personal, political, and philosophical dynamics of the crew were irresistible to many, But I felt stifled and had to get out, she told me. She became a full-time writer and for a few years was the British media's favorite digital academic, an it girl for the 21st century, as The Independent breathlessly billed her in October 1997. In 1998, Land also resigned from work. He and a half a dozen crew members withdrew to the room above the Leamington Spa Body Shop. There, they drifted from accelerationism into a vortex of more old fashioned esoteric ideas drawn from the occult, numerology, and the fathomless novels of the American horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, and the life of the English mystic Aleister Crowley, who had been born in Leamington in a cavernous terraced house which several crew members moved into. The crew became quasi cultish. Well, who could have seen that coming? Who? Meth? What about meth? They were on meth. Who was on meth? Neil. Okay, everyone's having a very descriptive conversation about what's happening. About trade between Canada. Okay, so he disappeared from blah blah blah. Let me see if I can get to something that is like connecting to today, or not today, but you know what I mean. I asked somebody of left acceleration. The notion that actually, I want to kind of like. I want to try I'm going to pick it up here. The 2008 financial crisis and the left's ineffectual, rather old-fashioned response to it, such as the short-lived street protests of the Occupy movement, further convinced Schrenek that an updated radical politics was needed. In 2013, he and a young British political theorist, Alex Williams, co-wrote a manifesto for an accelerationist politics. Capitalism has begun to constrain the productive forces of technology, they wrote. Our version of accelerationism is the basic belief that these capacities can and should be let loose, repurposed toward common ends, towards an alternative modernity. What that alternative modernity might be was barely but seductively sketched out, with fleeting references to reduced working hours, to technology being used to reduce social conflict rather than exacerbate it, and to humanity moving beyond the limitations of the earth and our own immediate bodily forms. I don't think we've perfected our earth and immediate bodily forms yet. Maybe we need to spend a little more time here. No, I'm glad you did. I'm totally glad you did. Don't you ever apologize. I want you guys to know. No, I want you guys to talk to each other. I love you so much. That's my favorite part. This is background. What that okay, wait. On politics and philosophy blogs from Britain to US and Italy, the notion spread that Schrenek and Williams, I'm sorry, I'm not saying her name right, had founded a new political philosophy, left accelerationism. 2 years later, in 2015, they expanded the manifesto into a slightly more concrete book, Inventing the Future. It argued for an economy based as far as possible on automation, with the jobs, working hours, and wages lost replaced by a universal basic income. The book attracted more attention than a speculative left-wing work had for years, with interest and praise from the intellectually curious leftists such as the Labour MP John Cruddas and the authors Paul Mason and Mike Davis. Yet the actual word accelerationism did not appear in the book. We've given up on the term now, Schrenek told me. It's been too popularized, and we don't just want everything to go faster anyway. Arguing for a shorter working week is arguing for people's lives to slow down. The 2013 manifesto had mentioned Land's earlier version of accelerationism in passing, describing it as acute and hypnotizing, but also myopic and confused. I want pizza. Oh wait, I'm having potatoes. When Schrenek and I met appropriately, he chose a futuristic public space, a cafe in the new angular new extension to the Tate Modern. I asked how he regarded Land and the crew's work now. Land stuff is valid, reading Deleuze and Guattari, he began politely, but the inhumanism of it all. And I'm not sure if returning to the crew's text is that interesting. All that wordplay, using the word cyber, seems very 90s. I asked Land what he thought of left accelerationism. The notion that self-propelling technology is separable from capitalism is a deep theoretical error. After his breakdown, Land left Britain. He moved to Taiwan. See, I don't give a shit about him. I want to know these people that are taking it to the current definitions. Okay, so they're all talking about where everybody went. Oh my God. Without a dynamic capitalism. All right. Well, we're gonna that doesn't that article has worked out its purpose for me. I feel like I've gotten out of it what I can. Now I want to go and think about the book Inventing the Future. Maybe I'll take a look at that because I kind of want to understand more about that accelerationist. Oh yeah, in 2013, Land wrote a long essay about the movement titled with typical theatricality, The Dark Enlightenment. Oh. Neo-reactionaries believe in the replacement of modern nation-states, democracy, and government bureaucracies by authoritarian city-states, which on neo-reaction blogs sounds as much like as idealized medieval kingdoms as they do modern enclaves such as Singapore. See, that's the part of it that's interesting to me is what are the societal concepts and implications for people like Peter Thiel and et cetera being in power. So I'm kind of interested in that. We'll learn more about that. Oh, bye, Neil. See you later. Yeah, I'm going to kind of close it down for now, but I'm really happy that we did some afternoon stuff because it actually got me caught up on stuff that I wanted to read to you. So I'm very happy about that. So we'll definitely do it again. I'm going to try and figure out what are the afternoons that would be best to do another show because I don't want to I don't want to overdo it for anybody. You might get sick of it. So we'll play along with it. We'll play around with it. But I would like to do something in the afternoons sometimes so that we have some connection. Tom, I'm limping my old Sienna around would like to go hybrid. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone who shared links. Teresa, you've shared a lot of links. Tom, Gal, everybody. Gosh, I'm so lucky to have you guys share all these links. So yeah, I want to learn more about these little concepts. That's why it's interesting for me to talk to people like One Eye, that account on Twitter who comes to our Twitter space, the guy who's, kind of, I guess he would describe himself as some of this type of stuff. I don't really understand all the ways people describe themselves, but I find it interesting to hear his perspectives. And he and I do not agree. We do not have the same worldview whatsoever. That's not a thing, but he is at least someone I can have a conversation. He's still boring. He's at least someone I can have a conversation with who doesn't just immediately call me a cunt. So there's that. And that's why, I'm going to be honest with you. I get a lot of invitations for people to like debate me and stuff like that on YouTube streets, or they were like, why don't I go on panels and shit like that? And I'm going to be honest with you. It's because there's literally no one on these streets uh, from the convoy days or whatever the offshoots of that are that I want to have a conversation with, because no one on that side in the Chud area is intelligent enough to have a conversation with me. Why in the world would I waste my time having a conversation with completely stupid bigots or just idiots that are, playing with chuds because they don't have any other content? So anyway, that's why I don't do all that stuff, is because I don't have time for morons. And I would just be giving people an education without getting anything in return. And I'm not. I know my worth a little better than that. And what I do is I provide content 6 days a week, plus on Discord. So my stuff is, I'm making the world a better place. What do you got? And if you don't understand the definition of media literacy, then you need to look it up. So there. Suck it up, buttercup. Swallow my farts. Suck my farts. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm tired, I guess. Anyway, but I will say this. Sorry, I know I'm silly sometimes. I cannot believe you get 47 miles an hour. I really, really, really can't. I really can't. I'm so jealous. I think I get like 19 on a good day. Anyway, I'm such a fucking asshole. am. I don't mean to be. Okay. Anyway, tonight's the movie. In a couple hours, we're going to watch a movie on the Discord. It's everywhere. You can't miss it. The Discord link is everywhere on all my socials. So please find us. But that's at 6 o'clock. What is that? 3? No. 2, an hour and 45 minutes. So almost 2 hours. But 2 hours from now on Discord, we're going to be watching a documentary, The Man Who Knew Too Much from 2020. So don't miss it. And then if I don't see you tonight, totally understand. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I will hopefully see you tomorrow morning for Wake and Bake, the sequel. Thanks again for coming. Lovely to see everyone. Lovely to see Heidi on screen. I love that. Oh, you did. Be safe, Jim. Make sure you take in all the stuff off your patios or wherever, okay? You don't want any debris flying around in those winds. Although I guess 48 won't really pick shit up. I don't know. I'm always worried about that stuff. It's here now. Ooh. All right. Adore you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much for coming and supporting everything that I try to do. I really appreciate it more than you know. So, thanks, friends. I'll see you later.